premiere today of the first episode of the Halo TV show. It's on Paramount Plus. I watched it last night and put a thing on Instagram if people want to see me do a review on it, because I do have thoughts on it. And everybody that voted on there said yes. I probably would have did it anyway, but I think people would like to see it. So there will be spoilers in this review, so if you don't want to hear about that, you might have heard about stuff anyway. It's been out for, I think, tomorrow. The second episode starts tomorrow, or whatever. But, overall, I thought it was pretty solid. There are obvious, I'm going to call them controversies, but things people are pissed about. We have not seen Cortana yet. I know there was a slight uproar about her look. There are familiar faces, obviously. I'm going to spoil it right out of the way here, but I'll spoil that in a minute, but it's not really a spoiler, but it's something you probably wouldn't expect. But like I said, there will be spoilers here about the episode. So the episode starts. You're in this colony of people. They're I forget what the name of the place they are at. But one younger girl goes out and plays with her friends. They're in the woods kind of area. And the one girl sees, which is, I think, Covenant Phantom, hanging out there, and she runs back and she's like, there's a ship over there. And they're like, oh, is it UNNC? And she's like, no, it's something else. And then all of a sudden, one of the friends gets blown away. And they all start running. Her other friends all get killed. She makes it back to like their kind of fortress. It's like a circle thing in the middle. Right? So she runs back, tells her dad, and they all start to gear up. They keep saying, is it Spartans? Is it the UNC or whatever? SC. And she's like, no. Obviously, it's the Covenant. They bust down the door. They don't even know what they are. But they show it's like these colonies don't like the military and shit. And all they show is like propaganda for the Spartans and everything. And there was like, they were alluding, like saying, hey, there's alien species out there. And they're like, holy shit, it's true. So it's just a bunch of elites, and they kill pretty much everybody. Like, and it's kind of actually a little bit dark because the father tells the girl to go in with the other kids in this thing, but she eventually runs out because she wants to help her dad's in trouble or whatever. And then an elite busts down the door and just wipes out all the kids. But anyway, they're getting their asses kicked, and then the Master Chief drops to the ground, and other Spartans as well, and they start fucking shit up. Now, one thing out of the gate that bothered me a little, two things actually. The Covenant the elites don't look bad, but they look almost out of place. They almost look a little bit fake compared to the action around. Now, the Spartan uniforms, Master Chief, the other ones, they all look good. The show has a very kind of, I want to say like a B-level quality to it in the way it looks, but that's not a bad thing. But the Covenant look, I have to get used to seeing them because they almost look out of place. Like, it almost would be better if it was almost all CG, like the Forward Unto Dawn movie and stuff like that. But they look weird. You see some plasma pistol in there. What do they call this plasma pistol? What's the other plasma? It's not the rifle, right? Maybe it is. I don't know. And it's funny, like, you get the Halo when Chief's getting hit. You hear the D when his shield is low. Obviously, the Covenant have their shields on, so the regular people's weapons are like kind of like old AKs and stuff. And people are like, why would they have that? Why the fuck wouldn't they? Like, it has like that. Have you ever seen the show Firefly? Like, some of the planets that they end up inhabiting or whatever are very almost back in time. Like, they're almost at like the 1800s. Which is always interesting, and I liked about Firefly. some of the planets were like super high tech, and then the other ones were like almost backwards in time. This is kind of similar. But the one elite, you hear the word noise that they make. They say demon at Master Chief. But the Covenant are looking for stuff. You know, the artifact. I think it was the Forerunner artifacts. So that's why they're on this planet. Like I said, the elite look a little weird. They don't look bad, but they look, it's like compared to everything else, it looks like they're almost like out of place. They look fake in the environment. It's hard to describe. You might, if you've seen it, let me know if you kind of have that same feeling about that. And the other thing that I didn't like about it is, I know Spartan's badass, obviously, but the elites go down a little too easy with these Spartans. Like, they have one pinned down, but they pretty much just all get their asses kicked. You get the plasma sword as well, gets used a few times. But I was kind of a little disappointed to see the elites go down kind of so easily to Spartans, because they usually hold their own for a bit. Those are the only Covenant that have showed up, and the Prophet of Mercy is in there as well. He pops up. He looked pretty good, actually. I think it was the Prophet of Mercy, right? The Prophet. No, it's Silver Team. Isn't it Blue Team that Master Chief's part of? But I'll get to the obvious things people had a problem with in a few minutes. But anyway, the only person that survives is the girl, the guy's daughter, like the head of the community's daughter. I forget her name, Kwan or something. But you're probably hearing the cat snoring. But anyway, after they're done there, they go and they see what the Covenant are doing. And they send a few of the Spartans to take out the Phantom. And then Master Chief goes in there and he puts his hand on the thing and activates the fucking Forerunner artifact or whatever. And he starts getting visions, which he doesn't know what they are, but I'm pretty sure they're of his past. And there's another elite hiding in the cave, and he sees this, and he's like, oh shit, and then he escapes into a Banshee and flies away. Right, the Banshee is the one where the one-person flying thing, that is the Banshee, right? I sometimes get the names of the vehicles mixed up. And then Chief comes back with the kid. He's like, tells the other Spartans to go do their thing, and he's going to do his own thing. And then Halsey, obviously, is there. Catherine Halsey is there. They're all on Reach, and I don't know if Reach was such a big city like this compared to the games, but I'm trying to think of the Reach game, but this is obviously even like a prequel to Reach. I don't think, unless they're leading up to the fall of Reach, I think this might go in its own direction with elements of the games, but I think it's going to go in its own thing. I don't know. You have to take it as that, because you're going to be disappointed if you don't. And, but the action looks good. You get a lot of their weapons, you know, the Spartan weapons and shit, and Marines weapons. You see dropships and stuff. But like Halsey's there, and she's communicating with John 117, Master Chief, and he's like, yeah, I saw some stuff, and she's like, all right, come back, and you know, she wants to do pretty much tests on him and shit, because she knows what he's seeing is his memories. He doesn't know that though. And she's being loud. Hold on. God, she's snoring super loud. I like just pet her a little bit so she doesn't snore for 30 seconds. But anyway, she does that, and he has the kid on the ship, and then Miranda Keyes, Captain Keyes is there too, and she's talking to the girl, and the girl's pissed because they're wary, like I said, of the military and everything, the UNSC, and that happens, and then they want to kill the girl, and then she's talking to Master Chief on the thing, and then the one woman, I don't know what her name is, she's like the higher up, Captain Keyes is also there, and she wants to, get rid of Chief or whatever, and the other Spartans, like, they're gonna land, and the other Spartans, like, Halsey tells the other Spartan, she's like, don't let them do anything to Master Chief, you know, they're like, all right, you know, they're like, yeah, what's the fucking Master Chief? Nothing's gonna happen to him. And they're very imposing. They look good. The Spartans, they're like much taller than everybody and shit. But here's where it comes in. I'm skipping some things here. There's also the part with, like I said, the Prophet of Mercy is talking. You might have seen this in the trailers. The human female is like reading a human book, and she's like hanging out with them, and not anything's really alluded to yet. You saw more in the trailers, but she has a very brief scene. But she wants to talk to the elite that saw what happened, how Master Chief activated the thing. But anyway, back to that. They're like, all right, we're going to grab the chief. We're going to take him out. The one lady says to the Marines, take him out. But Halsey tells the Spartans, do not let that happen. Because if they try to gas him on the thing, they like mess with the oxygen shit. This is why they don't want him. This is why they want to take him out, because they fuck with the oxygen shit, and then he's like, no, what the fuck? And he switches it because he sees the girls dying. Because they want to kill the girl. I forget what they call it. Article 72 or some shit. And he's like, fuck that. Because he's like kind of, she's arguing with him a little bit on the ship. When they kind of getting to know each other, whatever. And so anyway, like I said, Halsey's against that. Obviously, John 117's like her fucking, you know, her thing, you know. That's her, like, I forget what the word would be, like her crowning achievement, so to speak. And so the chief's like, what the fuck? And then he fixes the oxygen shit, and he's like, yo, something's up. And then they land, and the Spartans are ready to, you know, the Marines are a little bit like, they're like, oh shit, they're looking at the Spartans like, holy shit, but they're also, I think, a little nervous. But the chief fucking uses the artifact again, because he's bringing it back. And, like, they cut the power on the thing, and then he uses the thing, and it sends out this thing, and the power comes back, and he jets. Now, he also takes off his helmet. This is the big fucking thing. He's very talkative in the show as well, which you're not used to. He probably says more lines in this than he probably does in all the games combined in the first episode. Two things, though. He obviously you never see his face in the games, right? But it had to be done for the show. I understand why they did it, because he's the fucking main character. He's gonna be talking more. People are gonna want to see his face. They're not, especially casual people, are gonna be like, "What the fuck? You know, why can't I see his face?" I understand why people be upset with it, but I understand why the people would do it. And I'm gonna tell you two things. Maybe people will not agree with me on this. The face, the actor who's playing Pablo Schreiber, I like the face. I like the guy. It sounds weird, but he looks like he would be Master Chief. Like, I can picture him as it. Now, I forget the guy's name, the classic voice, Downs, Kevin or something like that. He's obviously not the voice. Now, I could have seen them using his voice while he was in the helmet and the gear, and then just going with the regular actor's voice out of it. Once again, his voice, the guy's voice isn't bad either. So I don't, honestly, it's growing on me a bit. It didn't bother me much as I thought it would, because I had heard about it as well from someone else who'd watched it. It doesn't bother me as I thought it would, because the face of the actor, I'm like, I could see this guy being, you know, Master Chief. I can see it, you know. I will say this, he's very, like I said, he's almost a little too talkative, I would say, is a problem, because he's very chatty even with the other Spartans, you know, telling them what to do and whatever. But it's like weird, because I'm trying, like, the personality is kind of there and like Master Chief's, but it's a bit different as well. It's very hard to describe. I'm trying to do my best with that, but I can get used to it, because once again, I'm looking at it as it's not gonna live up to my expectations in my head. You know, I just want to see, like, the games play out in live action. I have to understand it's not gonna happen. I mean, it might end up moving that way, but for now, it's not. Like I said, there's elements of the games in there, but I think the guy did a good job. I'm not gonna shit on the guy. I've seen him in other stuff too, but he has the look of what I would think Master Chief could look like. So the look is there, with his face, which is good. And the voice, listen, I can accept it. It's not the guy from the games, which is iconic and classic, but it's not bad either. The only thing I think I said is he's a bit too talkative, but once again, he's the main fucking character. You're gonna want it. People are gonna want to see him talk. They're gonna want to see him doing things. He looks, inside the gear looks good and everything. Everything looks nice, except, like I said, the Covenant look weird. I have to get used to it. They look accurate, but they look out of place. Like, it looks weird against a regular, I don't know, it's hard to describe. Overall, I'd like it. I'd give that first episode like a 7.5. I thought it was pretty damn good. I really did, and a lot of people might not agree with that, but the acting overall, pretty solid. The people who play Miranda Keyes and Captain Keyes. Once again, they had changed the race of them from the game to the show, but both people are doing a good job acting and stuff. And they have the attitudes of their characters, like I said, with Resident Evil. It's not about how they look. For me, it's they need to have the personality and the attitude of the characters. For me, that matters more than how they look. They were both good. Halsey's good. I forget her name. It's Natasha. I forget her. I've seen her and stuff. All the Spartans were good for the time they had. The acting was solid. The girl that Master Chief is with is good as well. I assume they're going to have kind of a relationship. I don't know if they're going to go off on journeys together. I don't know how it's going to play out. Acting solid. There were not a lot of set pieces outside of that colony. The part in Reach, like inside. And they show some of the outside of the city and stuff. It's a bit Coruscant-y from Star Wars. But I might be forgetting a few things, but and obviously they are right out of the gate. The relationships are mentioned with Halsey, Miranda Keyes, and Captain Keyes as well. I want to see more Covenant. You only saw the Elite and the one Prophet. There's Prophet Mercy of Blue. Listen, I'm honest. I want to see some fucking hunters. I want to see grunts. The Ungoi. I want to see fucking the jackals. I want to see everything. I want to see some brutes in there, and they might not pop up for a little later if they're doing it kind of how the games went from that aspect. You didn't see brutes in the first one. Kind of because I guess the brutes and the elites do not like each other, so they wouldn't be hanging out really. Wouldn't mind seeing them though. I do want to see more Covenant. I thought it was fucking really cool though. Like I said, the Covenant looked out of place in terms of how they looked against everything else. But it was badass how they came in there. People were nervous and they just started fucking shit up. Like I said, they went down a little too easy for my taste. I know that they're gonna lose. But I'm not saying they should kill any of the Spartans, but I think they should have. They pinned one down. The one Spartan they pinned down, but they pretty much kind of just take a fucking beating. But I want to see some fucking hunters in action. I really want to see the hunters for sure. I want the grunts to be fucking saying weird shit and taunting you. That won't happen, but. And you had the little things like the ward and shit like that. One thing I didn't like, they used the classic theme, briefly, but I didn't hear any actual Halo music. They should just have been like, listen, we're taking the fucking soundtrack of the first game and we're fucking using it, because the soundtrack for the first game is a fucking masterpiece, and the other ones are as well. I can't remember the guy's name, but he did all the ones up until Reach, I think. He did all the Bungie ones, but the first one, the second one's great too. And all of them are, but the first one is a fucking masterpiece. I don't know if the Flood's going to appear. That might be like a season 2 type thing if there ends up being a season 2. And I'd love to see the fucking Flood in there as well. Honestly, overall, though, I thought it was solid. I thought it was a 7.5. I can get past the Master Chief shit. And I like the Halo universe. I haven't read the books. I'm not super into the lore. I've read some background stuff online shit, but I do like the Covenant overall, how they're bringing in other, alien species into this Covenant, obviously, and going after shit. There's a lot of stuff I like, but I can get past the Master Chief stuff because I have to I have to, in my mind, like, I understand you have to do this way. You could not have him not take his helmet off at all. It doesn't work in a TV show, in my opinion. I mean, it works with someone like Vader in Star Wars, but Chief's gonna be constantly fucking, on screen. I feel like you have to have him take it off. Maybe they took it off a little too early. I could say that, like, first episode. They could have maybe waited a few episodes so there's a build up to it, but I'm not gonna let it get to me. If he has the helmet on more than not throughout the show, that's fine with me. If he has the fucking helmet off most of the time, I'm gonna be like, And the reason he takes it off is, it like cuts communication with the people in Reach, but the girl is like holding a gun to him, and he's like, "Listen, you're not gonna get to this armor." And he takes his helmet off. He's like, "You're gonna have to hit me here." But I don't know. Overall, I thought it was decent. I mean, let me know what you guys think. I might be in a minority saying that I didn't mind it enough. I took the helmet off, and I knew it was coming, and I was kind of like, "Oh shit!" But the way it was done, I was like, "You know what?" And you know what? A big part of it is the guy has the look of what I can see being like Master Chief. He kind of, I could be like, "Oh yeah, I can see it," And and for me, that's enough. I mean, like I said, you gotta temper your expectations for sure, and you have to understand if they're not gonna follow the game to a T, you gotta just be kind of open to what they're gonna do. That's why I'm not gonna shit all over it after one episode. If it gets worse, if you guys want to see reviews of the other episodes, I'll do them too, and I'll let you know. I'll be honest, if I'm not liking it, I'll say as much. And I had my gripes from this one, but honestly, like the Covenant looking a little out of place in the environments to me kind of sucked in the way they went down a little too easy. They killed, I think he says like 20 of them. They killed 20 of them. I think there was 3, or how many Spartans were there? There was Master Chief. Maybe there was 4. I can't remember. But, I don't know. I thought it was solid. Like I said, I'd say 7.5. I think it's a pretty good start, honestly. It looks overall decent. I gotta get used to the Covenant. Like I said, the Prophet of Mercy, I think, like I said, I'm pretty sure it was Prophet of Mercy, looked actually pretty good. I think he looked better than the elites. Now, maybe it was just, because it was like a desert community they were in, so maybe it just was a contrast. I don't know. Overall, like I said, acting solid. The set pieces were decent. There wasn't a lot of them. I want to see more ships and stuff as well, I think it's a pretty decent start, though, honestly. I hope it gets better, sure. But I think it was a solid start, honestly. But, yeah. Well, that's my review of the first episode. There were a lot of spoilers in here, like I mentioned earlier in the thing. They're not a lot of spoilers, but it's not like there was any twists or turns or anything like that. But overall, I thought it was solid. Let me know what you think. You might think it was complete shit. You might have thought it was awesome. I thought it was a solid start, though. But, yeah. I'd say 7.5 out of 10, but thanks for checking this out, and have a good night.